I got a letter real quick before we get to some of the good stuff. I got a letter from somebody that you know or you knew at this period of time. And this is a letter to Vince McMahon dated November 10th, 1997. It was received in the office and stamped by Linda McMahon and then carbon copied to the creative team under Vince, which at the time was me and Shitstain. And I've kept this, and I just ran across it. I'm going to blank out the name at the start. Dear Vince, hi, this is blank. I, as you know, have been a follower of the WWF for some 38 years, and after last night, I must say I am disgusted with the WWF and the treatment of Bret Hart. I know he is going to the WCW, but after all he did for the WWF, he did deserve better. The fans were cheated. We all wanted to say goodbye to Bret at the Garden, which was always one of his favorite places. You have robbed us of that too. I will never be a loyal supporter of the WWF again. I will be mailing a much longer letter soon. I just wanted you to know I definitely will be moving on to the WCW to follow Bret Hart and the others, because what was done last night is unforgivable. Of course, this is talking about the Survivor Series finish. Montreal. My phone has not stopped ringing since 6 a.m. this morning. All the WWF supporters are turning on you, Vince. This time you really did it. I don't think your father would be very proud of you now. One of my callers just ordered merchandise and will be canceling the order. She said she will no longer support your company. Another is bringing back her MSG tickets and refuses to support someone who has backstabbed Bret after he went on Raw just days after major surgery on his leg. Mr. McMahon, you have turned all the fans against you and the company. Regretfully yours, Georgianne Macropolis.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. When you said 38 years and you mentioned the Garden, I knew right away who it was.
The biggest WWF fan, the most beloved grandmotherly figure to the wrestlers and the fans in the New York area who had been the supporter. And of course, I think she calmed down and, I would imagine she continued watching programs after this initial.
The other thing is just to point out the impact of this getting there. And it's interesting the fact that it was passed on to the creative team. But Georgianne had been a regular at ringside going back to the early 60s. I believe her grandfather originally had the seats and she got them from him. She's always there. If you go back and watch any footage from the 70s, it's the same seat all the time. She had those seats into the 90s because I was friends with her and she would, when there was a show she didn't want to go to, she would give me her seats. Well, she'd let me purchase her seats from her.
Right.
Or sometimes if she had an extra ticket, I can go and sit in those second row seats on the aisle at MSG. She was always there. She supported Vince and the WWF to the point where just a few years before that, in 94, I believe she was at the trial every day on Long Island. And afterwards, Vince and Linda brought Georgianne and a few other people up to their house to spend the day with them out of appreciation for the support. So when you hear a letter like this 3 years later, it really is stunning.
And of course, Georgianne, it was always
and she knew his dad.
Yeah. Well, it was the rumor because she was the one mentioned. Georgianne in 1962, 63 was the president of Bruno Sammartino's fan club.
And Buddy Rogers.
And was also, I didn't know she had a Rogers fan club, but she was friends to the point where she went over to Rogers and Sammartino's houses and talked to their wives. And apparently, and some maybe innocently, she's the one that found out that Rogers was talking about it in some way trying to take over the territory, run opposition, or do something to strong-arm Vince Sr. into doing something, and apparently blabbed that information to Bruno, who then turned around and told Vince Sr., who then, that was the same time as the heart problems were going on. It makes more sense now. Was Rogers thinking, I'm going to have to get out of the ring? I've got a bad heart. Is there a way I can take over this territory? But he got found out and boom goes the dynamite. Didn't happen.
What do you think Vince's reaction to a letter like that was? The fact that Georgianne, a fan, who's connected, but a fan, can get a letter to him. It's read by Linda, who probably read more of the mail than Vince in general, let's be honest.
Oh, well, and the carbon copies were to me and to fucking Russo, not to Vince. I don't know, but he probably would have had cause to pause for a letter from Georgianne. But he knew the situation. He knew what he had to do to begin with. And also he knew that, and this is what happened, sooner or later, everybody's going to get over it. Georgianne was still at the Garden. Mick came back to work. And they ended up getting, the Mr. McMahon gimmick out of the whole thing. So, but for a while there, yeah, a lot of people were blistering the offices of Titan Towers about the treatment of Bret Hart.
And for a long time, Georgianne was as big a Shawn Michaels booster as there was. So that's another telling part of this, the fact that she is so pissed off about the treatment of Bret.
Well, and around about, hold on here, where is it? I got a stack of stuff. 1997 was a rotten year in a variety of ways. Shitstain got the opportunity of a lifetime to join the creative team and did irreparable damage to the wrestling industry as a whole. The double cross, Vince becomes a heel, WCW temporarily overtakes WWF in the ratings, blah, blah, blah. And at that point, that's what really started the Attitude Era, which everybody looks back on fondly. The fans look back on it fondly because that's the last time wrestling was good. A lot of the people in the business that didn't really fully focus on it and understand it look back on it fondly because they were making money and, the buildings were full. But now with the benefit of hindsight, more people look back on it like I was looking at it when it was happening going, this ain't fucking good, because we couldn't follow it. It's never been able to be topped. We hot-shotted it as far as we get, both companies. And then when the war was won, they didn't stop hot-shotting. When the war was lost, I remember WCW was throwing things out there right up to the very end, even though the cause was lost at that point. And the WWF really, until they bought WCW, even when they were firmly in the lead the last, year and a half, never slowed down. Because that was always the art to the thing. If you had to hotshot to get people back in the buildings of your territory, don't do it too long or you will burn the whole thing out permanently. And that's what happened with the benefit of hindsight. It's been steadily declining for 21 years now.